Welcome back to Psychology Facts, the place where human behavior, emotions, and the hidden signals of the mind are explained in a simple and powerful way. If you've ever wondered why certain people suddenly appear in your thoughts, why emotions hit you without warning, or what your mind is trying to tell you beneath the surface, you're in the right place. This channel is all about understanding the psychology behind everyday feelings, thoughts, and connections that most people experience but rarely talk about. Here, we explore real psychological insights, subtle emotional signs, and thought-provoking facts that help you understand yourself and others better. No complicated terms, no confusion, just clear explanations that make you think. So relax, listen carefully, and stay with Psychology Facts, because what you're about to hear might explain more about your life than you expect. Have you ever noticed how one specific person suddenly starts appearing in your thoughts again and again, without any clear reason? Not once, not twice, but repeatedly, as if your mind keeps gently pulling you back to them. You could be busy with work, watching a video, talking to someone else, or even trying to fall asleep, and still, their presence slips into your thoughts effortlessly. What makes it unsettling is that you're not trying to remember them. There's no obvious trigger, no photo, no message, no conversation that reminded you. Yet somehow, they're there. This kind of experience feels different from normal thinking. It doesn't feel forced or intentional. It feels automatic, almost quiet, like a whisper in the background of your mind. You might brush it off at first, telling yourself it's nothing, just random thoughts. But when the same person keeps returning to your awareness over and over, it becomes harder to ignore. It starts to feel meaningful, personal, and oddly specific. What makes this even more intriguing is how natural it feels. There's no emotional chaos attached to it. You're not spiraling into memories or replaying old conversations in detail. Instead, it's subtle. A brief image of their face, a sense of their presence, a sudden thought wondering how they are doing. These moments are gentle, but persistent. And that persistence is what captures your attention. Often, these thoughts appear when your mind is calm, late at night, early in the morning, or during quiet moments in the day when you're not overstimulated. In these spaces, the mind becomes more open, less guarded. And that's when deeper emotional connections tend to surface, not loudly, but softly, in a way that feels instinctive rather than logical. Many people describe this experience as feeling pulled towards someone mentally. There's no urgency, no anxiety, just a quiet sense of awareness. You may not even feel the need to act on it, yet the thought continues to return. It's this balance, calm but consistent, that makes it stand out from overthinking or obsession. Psychologically, the human mind doesn't let go of emotionally significant people easily. When someone has played an important role in your emotional life, the brain creates strong internal associations with them. Even after time, distance, or silence, those associations remain stored beneath conscious awareness. When the mind relaxes, they resurface on their own. But what truly makes people pause is how often these recurring thoughts seem to align with real-life moments. Many have experienced thinking intensely about someone only to receive a message from them shortly after, hear their name unexpectedly, or see something strongly connected to them. While not always explainable, these moments make the experience feel less random and more connected. It's not about believing in something mystical or forcing meaning where there is none. It's about recognizing patterns in human emotion and awareness. The mind is far more sensitive than we realize. It notices shifts, remembers bonds, and reacts to emotional familiarity even when logic can't find a reason. When a specific person keeps entering your thoughts without effort, it invites a question, not one you have to answer immediately, but one worth noticing. Why this person? Why now? Sometimes the answer isn't meant to be analyzed deeply. Sometimes it's simply a reminder that certain connections don't fade easily, no matter how quiet they become. In a world full of noise, these subtle mental returns feel different. They don't demand attention, yet they hold it. And that's why so many people believe that when someone keeps appearing in your thoughts without reason, it may not be entirely one-sided. It may be a sign of an emotional connection still quietly alive, reaching across silence in the only way it can, through thought. 1. You suddenly feel an unexplained wave of emotion. There are moments when emotion arrives without asking for permission. You could be sitting quietly, scrolling through your phone, walking down a familiar street, or lying in bed doing absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. And suddenly, a feeling washes over you. It doesn't come with a clear cause. Nothing happened just now. No memory was triggered intentionally. Yet the emotion feels real, present, and surprisingly deep. This unexplained wave of emotion often feels different from regular mood changes. It's not tied to hunger, stress, or something that just occurred. Instead, it appears suddenly, stays for a short while, and then fades just as mysteriously as it arrived. You might feel a soft sadness without knowing why, a calm warmth in your chest, or even a gentle happiness that doesn't match your surroundings. Because there's no obvious explanation, the feeling lingers in your thoughts longer than usual. Psychologically, humans are deeply emotional and intuitive beings. Our brains are constantly processing information, not just what we see and hear, but also subtle emotional cues we've learned over time. When you share a strong emotional bond with someone, your mind becomes familiar with their emotional patterns. Even after distance or silence, those emotional connections don't simply disappear. They remain stored in your subconscious, quietly active. When an unexplained emotion rises, it often feels personal. It doesn't feel like a general mood, but rather like something directed toward you. Many people describe it as a sudden heaviness in the heart, a tightness in the chest, or a wave of calm that feels almost comforting. These physical sensations make the experience feel more meaningful, as if your body is reacting before your mind can make sense of it. This is especially common when there is unfinished emotional business between two people. Unspoken words, unresolved feelings, or deep attachments can keep emotional bonds alive long after communication has stopped. Your subconscious mind may still be connected to that person through memory, emotion, and shared experiences. When they think about you intensely, your mind may respond by producing an emotional echo, a feeling without a visible source. Emotion also has a strong connection to memory. The brain doesn't store memories as isolated facts. It stores them along with the emotions felt at the time. So when an unexplained emotion surfaces, it may be your mind briefly reconnecting with a familiar emotional state tied to someone who once mattered, or still matters, deeply. You may not immediately remember a specific moment, but the feeling itself resurfaces first. Another interesting aspect is how these emotions often interrupt ordinary moments. You're not emotionally preparing for anything. There's no sad song playing, no emotional conversation happening. Yet the feeling arrives fully formed. This suddenness is what makes many people pause and question it. It feels different from overthinking or nostalgia because it isn't something you consciously initiated. People who are emotionally sensitive or intuitive tend to notice these moments more clearly. They are more aware of shifts in their inner world and more likely to trust what they feel. For them, an unexplained emotional wave doesn't feel random. It feels like a signal, subtle, quiet, but meaningful. Even from a scientific perspective, humans are wired for emotional resonance. We mirror emotions unconsciously, especially with people we've bonded with. If someone who shares a deep emotional connection with you is thinking about you intensely, your mind may recreate a familiar emotional state associated with them. It's not magic. It's emotional memory and psychological connection working beneath the surface. What makes this experience powerful is its authenticity. You're not forcing the feeling. You're not imagining it intentionally. It happens on its own. And because it arrives unexpectedly, it often feels more truthful than emotions you actively think yourself into. Many people report that after such emotional waves, they later hear from the person they were unconsciously connected to. A message, a call, or even a mention through someone else. While this can't always be proven as a direct link, the pattern is common enough that people begin to trust these inner signals more over time. It's important to note that not every unexplained emotion means someone is thinking about you. Sometimes emotions surface simply because the mind is processing stored feelings. But when the emotion feels sudden, specific, and unusually intense without a clear trigger, it often stands out from ordinary emotional fluctuations. These moments invite self-awareness. Instead of immediately dismissing the feeling or trying to explain it away, noticing it calmly can be helpful. Ask yourself how it feels rather than why it appeared. Often, clarity comes not from analyzing too hard, but from allowing the emotion to pass naturally. An unexplained wave of emotion is one of the quiet ways the human mind communicates deeper connections. It reminds us that emotional bonds don't rely solely on constant communication or physical presence. They exist beneath the surface, shaped by shared experiences, trust, vulnerability, and emotional intimacy. In a world that moves quickly and demands constant distraction, these subtle emotional moments stand out. They slow you down. They make you feel something real and personal, even if only for a brief moment. And whether you see them as psychological echoes or emotional connections, they reveal how deeply humans are wired to feel, remember, and connect beyond what is immediately visible. When you suddenly feel an emotion you can't explain, it may be your mind's way of reminding you that some connections leave a lasting imprint. Even in silence, even at a distance, emotional bonds can still whisper, not in words, but in feelings that arrive without warning and leave you quietly wondering why. 2. A specific person randomly enters your thoughts again and again. There are times when a particular person begins to appear in your thoughts repeatedly, even when there is no clear reason for it. You're not looking at their photos, scrolling through old messages, or talking about them with anyone. Yet somehow, their name, their face, or a small detail about them keeps returning to your mind. It happens while you're busy, distracted, or focused on something completely unrelated, which makes the experience feel unusual and difficult to ignore. What makes this different from ordinary thinking is the persistence. Everyone remembers people from time to time. But in this case, the thoughts don't come once and leave. They return again and again, gently interrupting your day. You might be working, watching something, or even laughing with others, and suddenly they're there in your mind, uninvited, yet strangely familiar. Often, these thoughts arrive without a story attached to them. You're not replaying a full memory or imagining a conversation. Sometimes it's just their presence, a flash of their face, the sound of their voice, or the feeling associated with them. This subtlety is what makes it feel meaningful. It's not fueled by overthinking or intentional nostalgia. It feels automatic. Psychologically, this happens most often with people we have formed emotional bonds with. The human brain creates strong neural pathways around individuals who played an important role in our emotional life. Even after time passes or circumstances change, those pathways don't simply disappear. When the mind is quiet or relaxed, these connections can resurface on their own. There is also the concept of emotional imprinting. When someone leaves a strong emotional mark, whether through love, care, conflict, or shared vulnerability, the brain registers them as significant. That significance can cause the person to reappear in your thoughts unexpectedly, especially during moments when your mind isn't actively occupied with strong emotions of its own. Another reason this experience feels intense is because it often comes with a sense of curiosity or emotional pull. You may find yourself wondering how they are, what they are doing, or why they suddenly crossed your mind. That curiosity can feel natural, not forced, as if your mind is nudging you toward them for reasons you can't fully explain. From an intuitive perspective, many people believe that repeated, unprompted thoughts about one specific person can be a form of emotional resonance. When two people have shared strong emotional energy, thinking can sometimes feel less one-sided. It can feel like a quiet mental echo, where one person's thoughts somehow stir the other's awareness. What's interesting is that these thoughts often appear during emotional transitions, moments of calm, vulnerability, or reflection. Late at night, early in the morning, or during pauses in the day, the mind becomes more open. In these spaces, subconscious connections tend to surface more easily. These repeated thoughts also feel different from worry or obsession. There's no anxiety attached to them. They don't feel heavy or draining. Instead, They feel neutral or even gentle, as if the person is simply passing through your mind rather than taking it over. This calm repetition is what makes people pay attention to it. Many individuals notice that after experiencing this pattern, some form of external confirmation follows. The person may reach out unexpectedly, appear in conversation, or show up in a dream shortly after. While not guaranteed, these moments reinforce the feeling that the thoughts were not entirely random. It's important to understand that the mind doesn't need constant interaction to stay connected. Emotional bonds can exist quietly, beneath awareness, activated by subtle internal shifts rather than external triggers. When a specific person keeps returning to your thoughts without effort, it often reflects the depth of the connection that once existed, or still exists, between you. Not every recurring thought means someone is thinking about you, but when the pattern feels sudden, persistent, and unprovoked, it stands out from normal mental noise. It invites reflection rather than worry. It asks you to notice, not to force meaning, but to acknowledge that some connections leave a deeper imprint than others. In the end, when a specific person randomly enters your thoughts again and again, it serves as a reminder of how the human mind holds onto emotional significance. Even without words, distance, or intention, certain people remain quietly present within us, resurfacing not because we choose to think of them, but because some part of us still remembers what they once meant. As the thoughts slowly fade and your day continues, one thing often remains: a quiet sense of curiosity. You may not fully understand why that person kept appearing in your mind, but the experience leaves a subtle mark. It's not loud enough to disrupt your life, yet it's meaningful enough to stay with you. And that in itself says something important about how human connection truly works. Not every connection needs constant communication to exist. Some bonds are built deeply, woven through shared moments, emotions, and understanding. Even when time passes and paths separate, those bonds don't vanish. They settle quietly into the background of the mind, waiting for moments of stillness to resurface. When they do, they often appear not as memories, but as presence, a feeling, a thought, a gentle awareness. These experiences remind us that the mind operates on more than logic. It responds to emotional familiarity, to energy it once recognized as important. That's why certain people return to our thoughts without warning, while countless others remain forgotten. The difference isn't coincidence, it's emotional significance. It's also important to approach these moments with calm rather than urgency. A recurring thought doesn't demand action. It doesn't mean you must reach out or reopen the past. Sometimes, it simply asks to be acknowledged. Not every feeling is a message to act. Some are reminders of growth, of lessons learned, of connections that shaped who you are now. When you notice a specific person entering your thoughts repeatedly, observe how it feels instead of immediately questioning it. Is it peaceful? Is it warm? Is it neutral? The emotional tone often tells more than the thought itself. A calm, steady presence usually reflects a bond that was meaningful but not chaotic, one that left an imprint without leaving a wound. These moments can also serve as quiet reflections of your own emotional state. They may appear when you're becoming more self-aware, more settled, or more open emotionally. In that sense, the person isn't just a reminder of themselves, but a symbol of a chapter in your life that still holds value. What matters most is understanding that these experiences are human. They don't make you weak, attached, or stuck in the past. They make you emotionally aware. They show that your mind remembers depth, not just events. And that awareness is something many people lose in a fast, distracted world. Whether or not someone is truly thinking about you in that moment is less important than what the experience reveals. That meaningful connections leave lasting impressions. They shape how we think, feel, and remember, often in ways we don't consciously control. So when a specific person drifts into your thoughts again for no clear reason, let it pass naturally. You don't need to label it or solve it. Simply recognize it as a quiet reminder that some connections transcend time and silence. They don't demand attention. They simply exist. And sometimes, that gentle awareness is enough.